All right, y'all. I promised that I was going to get these belief quizzes plotted. I'm going to go ahead and get this posted tonight. But I wanted to go over this and then go over where y'all scored individually. If you remember on Friday, I had asked y'all questions that were dealing with bedroom and wallet issues. Now let me make sure I'm clear on this. When I asked y'all questions dealing with wallet, basically the questions that I was asking you were really asking how much or how little you believed government should regulate economic issues. Ultimately, how much you believe government should regulate your money, hence the term wallet. When it came to the bedroom issues, I was asking you how much you believed government should regulate or how little government should regulate moral or social issues. And my contention is that if you have a good idea of how much a person believes that government should regulate or not economics, and how much a person believes that government should regulate or not morals, you have a pretty good idea of being able to classify what their political views are. One idea isn't enough, but you really need both. And what I've done is I've plotted your answers and I've put you into 4 quadrants up here: liberals, libertarians, conservatives, and populists. Now, as I come around, what you're going to notice, and I wanted to give you just a couple of basic things. First of all, if you look at the very center of this graph where that red dot is, this is as close to neutral as you can get. In other words, your, Dennis and Fantrella, y'all have kind of the same mindset in the sense that if we changed one question, y'all could have ended up in any of the 4 quadrants. Maybe this is because you're still figuring out exactly what you feel about issues, or maybe your views depend on the specific issues that you're given. But y'all are very, very moderate and shifting oftentimes in your positions because you're the closest to the center. However, you will notice some circles in other quadrants of this graph up here. There are a number of folks that are significantly further away from the center. And the further away from the center you get, the more, I don't want to say extreme exactly, but certainly the harder, the stronger, the more, seasoned your views are, so they don't change as easily. Now, you're going to notice the wallet line over here, and this wallet line is the horizontal line. And this is going to be dealing with, again, how much government should regulate or not. If your name actually is to the right of this line, and the vast bulk of the class did, then y'all are actually going to be believing that government should regulate economic or wallet issues. If you scored on the left-hand side of this line, and not nearly as many of you did as scored on the right, then you believe that government should stay out of economic issues. And I'll get into this a little bit more in just a second. This vertical line that goes down the center, if you'll notice up here, is actually the bedroom line. And this was dealing with the moral issues. If you scored north above that dot in the center, and a few of you did, then you believe that government should have some authority and sometimes a significant authority in regulating moral issues. However, if you scored below that issue, then in fact you're going to believe that government should stay out and that in fact moral or social issues should really be determined by the individual person. I'm going to take these quadrant by quadrant as we get started, and let me actually deal with the quadrant that had the most people in it, and that's this bottom right quadrant. You folks are my liberals. Looks like I've got Jonathan, Muhammad, Haksan, Lucas, government, Liam, and Abraham. Y'all all, to greater or lesser extent, scored as liberals. So what is a liberal? Well, remember, liberals are going to believe that government should regulate wallet issues. Maybe you remember one of the questions that I had asked you the other day dealt with taxation. Everybody should be taxed 10% no matter how much or how little they earn. That was one of the true falses that you got. Well, that's not a liberal idea. Liberals are actually going to typically believe that if people earn more, they should pay more in taxes. If they've benefited from the system with success, then them paying more taxes will actually empower even other folks to be able to share in the benefits by giving them a better chance of realizing them. Now, don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with this. I'm just saying this is kind of the idea. And the thought process is that liberals are going to believe in regulating economic issues. They're going to believe in doing so to help others more fully realize their potentials. You might even say that liberals are going to believe in Robin Hooding it, so to speak. Taking from the rich, giving to the poor. But the ultimate idea is that, if you've got Joe and Jane Sixpack and they're, in a world with wealthy people, or if they're in a world with corporations, they're not going to be able to stand on their own. By redistributing, it helps them get stronger. The other piece to this, liberals are going to be, another way of saying it would be, liberals don't want too few people to have too much. They don't want too many people to have too few, but they want to try and redistribute so that everybody has enough. And that's ultimately what you've got here. Now, looking at these folks, and I'll just start. You notice up here, Jonathan and Muhammad are on the exact same dot. Haksan and Lucas are on the exact same dot. And then government is, or at least the exact same line, I should say, in the sense that on 5 of the 7 questions dealing with moral issues, y'all all agreed that government should stay out. So more often than not, you believe that moral or social issues were an individual choice. However, you did have your limits. The difference really is how y'all viewed economics. Jonathan and Muhammad, y'all both actually, on 4 of the 7 questions, felt like government should regulate economic issues. Haksan and Lucas, y'all said that 5 of the 7 questions that government, in fact, should regulate. And then, of course, we've got government down here. Government on 6 of the 7 questions, you said government should regulate. So when you put this into context, y'all have the exact same mindset when it came to morals. But you did have differing views. Jonathan and Muhammad, very moderate when it comes to regulating economics. Haksan and Lucas, much more solid. And government, you might be even classified as a little bit extreme. So liberals are going to believe in regulating economics. When it comes to moral, social, bedroom kinds of issues, you believe it's the individual. It shouldn't matter who somebody marries, or prayer is not something that should be forced down a person's throat, or abortion is, in fact, something that is in the hands of the individual. Your sense is that you want to regulate economic issues so that people can focus on exercising their freedom in terms of moral or social types of issues. That's basically what liberals do. Now, maybe it isn't a surprise to you, but liberals and conservatives are pretty much opposites. And if I come up here into this upper left-hand corner, you begin to see why. If liberals believe in regulating economic issues and expanding individual freedom in morals, conservatives, on the other hand, are going to believe very strongly in extending individual freedom in terms of economic issues, but regulating moral issues, the exact opposite of liberals. Think about it like this. I earn what I keep, so I should be able to keep what I earn. That's kind of a steady conservative mantra. There's a sense out there that the more that government gets involved, the worse that government can make things. And there's a sense out there that people can make better decisions economically with their wallet, with their money, with their property than government can make for them. However, there's also a sense out there that there are a lot of temptations in this world. And rather than relying on human reason or maybe even human emotion and passion, what we should really refer to would be established institutions. Things like the church that's been around for hundreds or maybe even thousands of years, because the strength and the foundation of religion would be something that would be much, much stronger than, like I said, individual passion or emotion. So yeah, there does need to be prayer, and really there shouldn't be a choice on this, is something that conservatives may say. Yeah, we do need to counsel folks when it comes to issues dealing with abortion. Oh, absolutely. Weed should not be legal because partaking of these kinds of substances could in fact negatively impact a person's mindset, their discretion, not just in social issues, but ultimately in economic ones, which will cost all of us. So liberals and conservatives are very different. They're the exact opposites in that sense. Now, if you come down to this bottom corner where this U is, I want you to think about this U as kind of being like a life curve. You know, you've got this upper left-hand L being liberal, and this is you as a younger person. Let me make sure that I say this right. When you're younger, oftentimes you're going to be more liberal than you will be at any other point in your life. I am not saying that all young people are liberal, but I am saying, again, you are typically going to be more liberal when you're younger. And think about it. You're going to be more dependent on government, on others, in order to figure out who you are and what it is that you're going to become. You don't have that first job yet. You're still in school trying to get the credentials to get that job. It's not like you've got a lot of money. I'm guessing that many of you don't own houses, and many of you probably don't even have apartments. So, you know, you're going to be dependent upon others to ultimately make your way, at least at the beginning in this world. If you fast forward, this C down here in the middle, this is where we get to mid-age or midlife, if you will. And this C is going to be for conservative. And the basic idea with this is that when you get to middle age, you have stuff now. You've got that first big job, or maybe the second big job. You've got a house. You've got a family. You've got kids. You've got that big SUV payment, these kinds of things. And if the root of conservative is conserve, you're going to be more conservative in nature because you're going to want the government to help you conserve or preserve the things that you have. Remember, when you were younger, you're trying to figure out how to get things, and you're going to need help in so doing. Well, now that you've got them, at middle age, you're going to typically be more conservative than you will be at any other point in your life because you're trying to figure out how to protect the things that you've acquired. But if you fast forward to this last L up here, this is old age. And you, again, become more liberal at old age than you would typically be than at just about any other point in your life. Think about it like this. At older age, you're retired now. The house is paid off. The kids are grown. The responsibilities aren't there. It's you kind of fending for yourself again. And the thought is that without really money coming in, maybe other than Social Security, for example, you're going to be more dependent on help from others to continue to be who you are. So at the early stages of life and at the end stages of life, you're typically going to be more liberal than you will be at any other point. However, at middle age, you're going to be more conservative because you're going to want more government help, or you're going to have a mindset to try and conserve or preserve the things that you've already got. Now let me get to the third category. And we've got Robert and we've got Ventrella as the only two people that are actually in here. Robert and Ventrella, y'all actually scored as libertarians. And what I mean by libertarians, libertarians are a group that typically believes that the government that governs best governs least. Let me say that again. The government that governs best governs least. They are going to stay out of people's wallets, and they're going to believe that people should rise and fall upon their own merits. And in fact, the more that you're empowered to rise on your own merits, the higher that you're going to climb, because the more that government regulates, typically the more they're going to mess it up. By the same token, when it comes to moral issues, who is the government to get involved in these? The Libertarians, believe it or not, have been a political party that has had a plank in presidential platforms where they have advocated the legalization of weed. So weed is not something that government, they don't want lots of jails and things for weed violators. Libertarians, they don't need, government doesn't need to be getting involved in abortion and things like this. Government does not need to be dealing with these social issues, and they don't need to be in your wallet, because if they're not going to be as involved, then why do they need to collect taxes? You rise and you fall on your own merit. Now, what's nice about this is you may very well be able to rise pretty far if you're capable. But A, not everybody is capable, and certainly not everybody is always capable, which means if you are unable to rise because they've collected less taxes and regulated less, you will fall very, very hard, because there just simply aren't the social nets that are there to catch you when things go wrong. So kind of keep that thought in mind. This last group that's up here are actually the ones that are known as the populists. And the populists are going to believe in regulate and regulate. You know, some folks have control issues, and I'd be curious, Rolando, because you're the only populist that we've got, to see if your friends think you have control issues. Because populists, in a benevolent way, want to regulate everything. They want to take away the hurt, or they want to take away the pain, and their sense is that government can make better decisions for the people than the people can make for themselves, regardless of whether it's economic or regardless of whether it's social kinds of issues. Like I said, oftentimes populists are going to have some control issues. And not only that, but oftentimes populists can easily slip into dictatorship, because the sense is that when they do begin to regulate and they do begin to make decisions, oftentimes populists can make things better. Give me this power, no matter how awesome it is, and in fact, I will take away your problems. Of course, the problem is that if there is success at the beginning, it's more likely to lead to more power and more power and more power, and one day you wake up and there's just nothing left but the power of that populist leader. So it starts off with the people giving the power and the populace doing things, but then there's a frustration when people don't react like they want. I throw this out to you because you notice if there is a question on the exam, who is going to be most likely to be our class dictator, it's pretty apparent that that is going to be Rolando. Let me leave with one last thing, and I forgot to get this before, but you'll notice our strongest conservative up there is Christopher. And Christopher, on 6 of the 7 questions, you believe that government should stay out of moral issues. And on 6 of the 7 questions, you actually believe that government should regulate morals. So staying out of the wallet and regulating the morals, you might be the strongest conservative out of all 4 of the classes. Keep that thought in mind, because you're very strong and you seem to fit the pattern that there are not, conservatives in general, there are not many in college classrooms, not because of the college classrooms, but because folks are typically younger. For exam purposes, please give a good look to these 4 categories. Understand the difference between bedroom and wallet, and how government regulation or non-regulation makes somebody a liberal, libertarian, conservative, or populist. And make sure you know, if in fact I ask who is most likely to be the class dictator, that it is Roe. Good luck, y'all.